find it? Because the beauty is there, so you've accessed it, You walk around, Where are the coffee shops? Where are the arts and crafts people, the artisans? Where are the performers performing at the foot of CP Falls, creating experiences in the caves, telling stories in the caves? And for every story you tell, you charge $20, $30. So the product development, members, is within our grasp. We just have to provoke innovators, innovation, collaboration. We have to be humble and learn, because people have done it. Japan has done it. You can benchmark. Egypt has done it. Egypt, how many visitors a year annually, do you know? 19 million. 19 million. We're celebrating 19.7% growth on last year, but off a very low base. We're still below 5 million. So I challenge every single tourist value chain player in Uganda to start thinking far and wide. Let's have this conversation. Call a spade and not a big spoon. What are we going to do in sports tourism? We have FUFA here. Dr. Azza is going to comment and tell us, because their strategy is also talking to tourism. Sports tourism will unlock. We have Uganda Investment Authority here. Honorable said, what are those things we need to unlock within the investment space so that we attract the right kind and right level of investment within the tourism value chain? What incentives are in place? And members, again, Ugandans, you need to start. We need to reach critical mass of investment in our own product. Kenyans invest in Kenya. And then the foreign community comes, the international community. Last night I had a really great dinner with Hassan, and we were at a petite village, or Le Chateau, and he was walking around I'll call it a campus of sorts, because it's a complex. It's got everything in there. They've got a bakery, there's the pizza place, there's a Japanese place, you can have French cuisine, you can have, and then on top of everything else, there's a boutique hotel. It's like, this is amazing. I think I'm going to do this at home in Cairo. The good thing, he has the money, so he's not just talking. Not like the rest of us. You continue dreaming. But he saw it and he's like, you know what? I've been looking for my next best, adventure or, investment. I think this feels comfortable. But he's thinking about investing in Cairo. So what are you doing, you in your space? You see something beautiful, you bring it home. That's a provocation for us. I won't say the other thing we talked about at dinner with Hassan, unless he provokes me. And it was about mountain gorillas. But what I said to him, I'm going to facilitate his trip to Bwindi, impenetrable forest, because his knowledge on mountain gorillas was alarmingly low. And I was genuinely surprised. So we're here thinking, hey, home of the primates, what, nini? It's very easy to get intoxicated, high on our own supply. 50% of the mountain gorillas are here. We are the source of the river Nile. 48 million Ugandans. 60% of us, we are below the age of 30. We are young, energetic, demographic. We are vibe. If you want to know us, go to Bandari Rise. That's where you will find us. My guy, it's only you who knows. Only you who knows. Egypt is not far from here. There's even a direct flight. They don't know you. So let that be a reality check. For the content creators, for the people who are in tour operations, we are not doing enough exploitation of our product, information and awareness. The last thing I'll say, because I'd even said I won't talk so much, I'm also here to learn. I want to hear from our panelists, is Google now next best destination. Google as if you're a tourist. Ugandans, I know you don't travel much, but Google as if you are going somewhere. Then you count the top 20 destinations they're recommending. See if we are anywhere. I know Bwindi has been ranking about number 6, the impenetrable forest. But let's check ourselves. That's how you sense check. Where are we? How are we competing? After they talk about the pyramids, what next? After they talk about Ecuador, Peru, where are we? So that speaks to everybody. 48 million Ugandans. You need to make us, is it search engine optimized? Am I using the right word? We need to be in the top 20 ranking destinations if we're going to achieve Vision 2040. So I thought I would start with a bit of provocation. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Honorable. Can I remain here?
Yes, please. Have a seat. You have earned yourself a seat there. So thank you very much. Can we thank her, please? Yes. I think those are very powerful remarks. We shall be giving the keynote a little bit more time. And then panelists, of course, a little bit of less time, but I will call you here. Now, just summarize what the CEO has talked about. The country is well endowed. Natural resources, we are doing very well. However, we are under-tapping, and others are completely untapped. And I'm mentioning this so that I prepare the investment authority when you are coming. I give an example of Mount Rwenzori. I hope all of you are aware that Mount Rwenzori, in Mount Rwenzori, we have got the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th highest peaks in the whole of Africa. But when we get statistics from Uganda Wildlife Authority, Mount Rwenzori contributes only 1% of the total tourism revenues we get from national parks, compared to Kilimanjaro, which is 2nd after Serengeti. And yet, in terms of the challenge, in terms of the experience, Rwenzori actually to mountaineers, it offers even a more challenging experience. So what is the problem? Now, to investment authority and to other people, let us start thinking. River Nile, she talked about it. So many untapped resources. We are only a little bit tapping into wildlife, but talk about the water bodies that we have, the 2nd biggest lake we have. There is a lot that we are not doing. Then talk about the man-made resources that we have, Kasubi and others that she talked about. Those that we intended for tourism and those that were not intended for tourism, but they are all important for tourism. And then the events. So I don't want to repeat a lot of what she said, but I think it was really triggering that we can be thinking so that once we go into debating, we can really exploit more. So may I take this opportunity to invite our keynote today, Mr. Richard Nwe Nyesiga, the Director, Domestic Investment. Can you please and make yourself comfortable? But I think when you talk while you're standing, it's better even for those people who, whatever makes you comfortable is what you do. So take us through, why is it that Uganda is investable, yet we are having a lot of resources under-tapped or untapped? Take us in that direction, please.
Thank you very much. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Richard Nwe Nyesiga. I work at Uganda Investment Authority, a government agency mandated to promote, facilitate investments, value-adding investments in Uganda, of which tourism is among. So I take this opportunity to be here. I lead a team that is championing local investment. So there is this talk where Ugandans say that we favor more foreign than local investment, which is not true. So I encourage you to visit us at our website, ugandainvest.go.ug, or come to our offices, Kororo, Baskerville Avenue, Plot 1, that beautiful building, it's for you. Uganda Business Facilitation Center, where we have a one-stop center that has over 15 government agencies, of which UTB office is among, where we facilitate our both foreign and local investors to ensure that you get the services timely. We are there to reduce the cost of doing business. Instead of moving from one office to another, you just come to a one-stop center, get company registered, get URI 18, get utilities connections from National Water and Sewage Corporation, get standards from UTB, among others. So I encourage you to come and visit our one-stop center, which is in Kororo. I was given a topic which says, position Uganda at the center of Africa's wanderlust economy. The CEO of UTB, she has almost talked what I wanted to talk about. But I just want to first say this line, then I will go into other details. There is this famous quote by Winston Churchill, many of us know. The power of Africa. When he landed in Uganda at Entebbe Airport, he described Uganda because of its diversity, the uniqueness, the nature. He called it the power of Africa. For decades, we have used that phrase with immense pride, but we are being completely honest with ourselves as investors, policymakers, and business leaders. We have often treated that pearl like a family treasure kept safe in a velvet box, admired for its raw beauty, but underutilized, which Professor talked about. Let me just drive in some numbers. Post-pandemic fall is officially history in Uganda. Uganda's tourism sector has shaken off those quiet years, emerging as one of the nation's top 3 highest performing government programs. When you look at the revenue by the travelers, the capital that has been injected in the economy, the 1.62 billion by international tourist arrivals, and the numbers are currently approximating, if I'm well, if I'm correct, around 1.6 million visitors annually. But remember, we have a target of $4 billion by the end of 2029 and 50 billion annually as per the tenfold strategy by 2040, right? So currently, tourism is contributing to around 5.9 to GDP, which is really, it's no longer the peripheral like before. So 5.9 contribution to GDP, it's really a huge contribution, which also supports the jobs, job employment opportunities, valued at around 870,000. That's very good, meaning that if we put more efforts and close the gaps, we can even have millions and millions of jobs created under tourism. It's an economic multiplier for the venture capitalists and private equity minds in the room. Consider the velocity of the tourist dollar. Microeconomic data reveals that every single dollar spent by an investor in Uganda translates into 2.64 times that amount circulating through supply chains, agriculture, transport, and supporting services. Now, when a traveler lands at Entebbe, they want to change some dollars into Ugandan shilling, meaning that the Forex Bureau is going to make some commission out of that exchange. Out of the building, the Uber or the NS Safari car is waiting outside. That is transport. Now that Safari or Uber is going to drop that tourist at the hotel. You see the chain from the Uganda Airlines, for example, now to the Forex Bureau, to the Uber guy, to the hotel. Now the hotel will also buy food from the farmers in Rukunjiri, in Isinjiro, the coffee farmers, the banana farmers. So tourism benefits the whole supply chain. It does not target some few value chains, but you can see it's end to end, from transport to hotel to agriculture to crafts, among others. The competitive advantage. Why Uganda? The CEO talked about the fresh waters, the mountains, and honestly, when you look at other countries, they cannot match Uganda's beauty. There is that uniqueness that Uganda has that we have not utilized, that if we utilize, we can be among the top 10 tourist destinations in the whole world. From the investment side, we have been voted, Uganda has been voted as the best investment destination for the last 3 consecutive years by the AIM Awards in Abu Dhabi. The best investment destination. When you look at our labor rates, averaging at 400, it's not good, but currently the same skilled averaging at $440 per annum. When you look at our tax policies, our incentives, you cannot compare it with any country in the region. When you look at the investors are allowed to, however much we encourage partnerships and joint ventures, but our investors can be allowed to own their companies 100%. There is capital repatriation. You are not like other countries where you cannot repatriate your profits. After tax, you are allowed to repatriate 100% of your profits to any other country. So that's the enabling environment that we should take advantage of to ensure that we attract investors into tourism. Maybe if I talk about some of the incentives. Many of you who have the hotels here, if you are importing the hotel equipment, let me say bed sheets, cutlery, everything, as long as they are branded, let me say Sheraton Hotel, they are tax exempted. They cannot charge you. But majority of Ugandans are not aware of that. So you find they are importing equipment for their hotels and they are paying taxes. You just need to have the Uganda Investment Authority license and a letter from Uganda Hotel Owners Association, which you submit to URA, and when your goods arrive at the customs, they are exempted. When you are importing the cars, the safari cars that you are going to use, they are 100% tax exempted, so that we reduce the cost of doing business. Instead of paying that amount of money for taxes, especially in the hospitality sector, you use that money to develop other facilities. That's what the government is aiming at, support our local investors. So those are some of the incentives that we should utilize as Uganda to be competitive. So I encourage you to take advantage. There is a whole incentive regime about tourism sector, which you can access at Uganda Investment Authority website, or you go to URA website, download it, incentive regime. Now we are ending the financial year. Now there will be another one for the next financial year, 2026-2027, so that you take advantage. The feasibility studies, if you are setting up facilities, they are exempted, they are tax exempted. We worked with UA on some concessions. If you are setting up high-end hotels, there is some land gazetted for you Ugandans. Set up. Instead of now buying an acre at maybe $100,000 US, you save that money. You get that free land from the government. So you need this information, and we are here to provide that information. The CEO talked about our primary assets, the primate capital of the world, 50% of the remaining gorilla population, the chimpanzee, the safari contrast, the premium leisure. Those are some of the things that we Ugandans we can invest into. What is the vision? The vision is value over volume. You can have so many volumes, but you don't get the value. Hence this topic. There is a paradigm shift now. Tourists are no longer interested in sightseeing only. Wanderlust economy refers to a strong desire to attract, a strong desire to travel, explore new places, and experience different cultures, landscapes, lifestyles, and adventures. When these travelers come, it's not about hiking the mountains, and they want to experience the communities. They want to be in their communities, meaning that we have to take these eco-lodges in their communities. Some of the tourists, you find them in the gardens, experiencing some of things we do in our farms. You have seen one farm in Barara, the Embrara farm. They want to learn how to milk a cow. So those are now new ideas we need to tap into. They want to learn how to prepare wombo, and they are willing to pay. Because when you go to US, they also have lakes, they can be on the boats, but you may not find wombo in US. You may not find milking the cow using the hands in US. So what is that uniqueness that are you going, that intrinsic value that you are going to give this traveler compared to when he or she travels to other countries? So that's the new economy that we need really to tap into. As the government, there are some sectors now we are focusing on. The maize, meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibition. We cannot have the maize when we don't have conference centers, high end. Now, for example, imagine if we are to have over 10 conferences happening in Uganda. Do we have the facilities to accommodate them? I know one here, the Munyonyo here, Sheraton, Serena, but you cannot find conferences that can accommodate 1,000, 2,000 and above, meaning that we need to invest in these conferences. Expo Uganda, global brand. Through targeted marketing, we are taking our Expo Uganda campaign to high-value, long-pull source markets across North America, Europe, Asia. Madam CEO talked about content creation. If we don't create content to showcase Uganda, a traveler or any person in Japan will not know what is happening in Uganda. We only publicize the negativity. We don't show the good side of our country, especially when you look at the tourism sector. So as content creators, we need to focus on that. We are now implementing economic commercial diplomacy I will gladly say that we have the budget to promote tourism sector as Uganda Investment Authority. Through your office, we will need some content creators who will create good videos that when we go for these summits, for investment forums, we are able to showcase our country so that we attract the tourism. Inclusive green growth. We know we are now in ESG era. We need to also protect the environment. So the tourism sector should also focus on that. How do we promote tourism but also protect our environment? The moderator asked me, talk about what is that gap, the investable gap, where most of you now you can come in. To hit our ambitious national target of 4 billion in annual tourism revenue by 2029, we must candidly address our structural bottlenecks, and where any casual observer sees as a bottleneck, a true investor sees as an entry point. What are these bottlenecks? There is a demand for premium leisure travel scales up. We need more high-end luxury ecologies. Recently, I was in Rwanda. One and only. They pay up to $20,000 US, $10,000 US if you are to spend a night. Between $5,000 and above. But honestly, we don't have any facility here in Uganda where you pay over $5,000 US. Do we? Eh?
Laura, say something. $5,000? I think the chain that's open, One Nature. Sorry, I forgot. One Nature. I don't know how much they're going to charge. Laura, you keep me honest. But I think those are the ranges.
It's not yet operational.
They're opening this month.
Yes, now. So we need such, so that when we bring the Bill Gates of the world into Uganda, they have where to, because these people have the money. We don't want them to come here in Uganda, do business, and go and sleep in our neighboring countries. So we need to attract, and that's why we worked with UWA through Ministry of Tourism to have land in national parks where you investors, if you have the money, you can set up these high-end facilities. There is a gap of infrastructure. We are looking for investors to invest, for example, in aviation safari. There are quite few now. That's why our neighbors take the advantage. Now, assume you want to move from Kampala to Windi on the road. It takes you how many hours? 8 hours. So now, assume you have, the aviation is just 45 minutes. You are in Windi, you truck, and then sleep there or come back. So we still have gaps in infrastructure and last mile connectivity. So we need our investors, or we need investors and developers to invest in localized luxury transport, specialized safari aviation, and private-public partnerships to enhance airstrip connections to remote premium zones. So there are incentives. If you want to invest in that sector, the government is willing to negotiate or to work with you and public-private partnership to ensure that you also have return on the investment. So I encourage, if you know anyone who is willing to invest in this sector, please, we are willing to listen, and the government is able to support. The logistics and aviation. The strategic route expansion of Uganda Airlines is actively cutting down international travel friction. This opens up massive opportunities for corporate charters, direct logistical handling, and travel technology platform designed for modern digital. Now, Uganda Airlines goes direct to London. So as Ugandans now, we need to take advantage. We need to have our products on Uganda Airlines to access. I saw yesterday but one about AGOA. I haven't read that statement, but I saw that the President of the United States is again allowing some African countries back into AGOA. You know what happened to us? So I haven't read, but I saw somewhere at X. So I need to check if now we are back into AGOA. We need now to start preparing our products, the profits, back to US market. Mr. Moderator, as I conclude, this is an invitation to build the future. Uganda's tourism potential is no longer a theoretical concept discussed in brochures or romanticized travel magazines. It's alive, surging investment reality. We need to systematically convert our raw ecological wealth into a highly structured, profitable, and sustainable asset class. To the investors in this room, the ground floor is open. The statistics are undeniable. The political will is steadfast, and the market is hungry. Do not wait for Uganda to become mature, overcrowded tourism market where the margins have dried up. Invest now, build with us, and position your capital at every center of Africa's vibrant, wanderlust economy. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Richard, Investment Authority. You have highlighted very well the investment incentives that are available in the country. You have highlighted very well the investment areas that we have in the country. Of course, we shall be able to add on the list. You have hinted on the issue of sustainable tourism growth, because that is very, very important if we are to have proper growth of the sector. You have highlighted the investment opportunity, the investment bottlenecks that we have got to unlock so that we can be able to have the sector growing in the right direction. Can we give him another round of applause, please? Thank you very much. So you can also stay here. At this moment, you are going to allow me to now start inviting the panelists, and the approach we shall use is the question and answer. So I'll give a few guiding questions that we shall focus on, but I'm always finding it interesting that at a certain point we open the questions to the public also to come in to ask questions, and then we answer. So without wasting a lot of time, let me invite Mr. Mago, the General Manager of 4 Points Sheraton. Can you welcome him as he takes his seat? And like I said, when you are going to start speaking, please use about 2 minutes to talk about yourself. Please. Thank you very much. Then we are going to have Hassan Kama, CAF Commercial Director. We are going to have Jean Philip, the General Manager, Sheraton Kampala. Yes, I hope the chairs will be enough. Don't worry. Then we shall have Dr. Azza, Vice President Fufa. Then we have Brenda Kabasingzi. Good. Okay. So I don't know if you have got the microphones near you, but I think we shall be using them. as we go along. So, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry, Mr. Moderator. Can I just ask one question? I see my team here. Do we have Mr. Hassan's video queued? Yes.
We begin with it?
Perhaps we can begin with it, sir.
Okay, please.
Yes.
So okay, thank you very much. Around the corner, and because of that, I will start with you. Yeah, just you'll use 1 minute to tell us more about yourself, and then tell us about AFCON and the investment opportunities that are there for tourism that we just have ahead. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Hassan El-Kamaha. I'm the commercial director with CAF. So I oversee the sponsorships part, the TV rights, and the marketing. First, I want to thank UTB and Madam CEO for the great invitation. I'm honored to be here. It's not the first time, but it's always great to come back to this beautiful nation. And just adding to your thoughts, Juliana, I think despite you have many, many assets and amazing things for the tourists to come for, you have a very, very valuable asset that I really want to, I always tell you, is the people. The people here is something special. It's something very nice. So a big applause for that. So I think this is what matters for tourists when they come, is the first entry in the airports, is to meet the people and to film the hospitality and warmth. So this is something that we really very looking forward to in East Africa. And I think AFCON in East Africa is going to be something special. Before I also forget, a big greetings from our president, Dr. Patrice Motsepe. Thank you. And as he always say, it will be the best AFCON in the history of CAF. And this is always our mission when we deliver AFCONs, especially hosting 3 beautiful countries like Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. So I think we have seen these highlights. As I always say, we are in the business of passion. Football is always a big key platform to unite people, to get you out of your comfort zone and to always enjoy. And this is what we love about football, and that's why football is the biggest platform in the world. Let me tell you just some numbers, and I think you have seen them here on the screen. We had over 1.5 million guests coming to Morocco because of AFCON. We had an economic impact value for the country of around $2 billion. So $2 billion were spent inside the country within a month. This is the power of AFCON, the power of football. And for the tourism, I think this is the biggest platform that you can show your beautiful country and the assets that you have to the people. As you said, in North Africa, we are not very familiar with kind of destinations because of the awareness of the marketing. And this is, I think, bringing AFCON to East Africa will change the game. I'm sure it will give a big platform for the rest of the world, and including Africans, to come and enjoy this beautiful country. Where I come from, Egypt, you said we have maybe around 19 to 20 million visitors a year, but I think still we are very far. We are very far because we also have history, we have beautiful assets, not only the pyramids, beaches, etc., but still we are very far. Looking at France, I think I read numbers, they attracted last year over 100 million visitors. With okay, they have Tour Eiffel and such beautiful things, but if you compare them of the authentic attractions that we have in our countries, we really can do much more. So this is just an intro, and I'm open for a question. Yeah. So it's. I think you wanted to ask about the investment opportunities. So I think this is also a very good question because we attracted 23 sponsors during AFCON 25 in Morocco. We had partners from China, we had partners from Japan, we had partners from Europe, from Africa. So this is where really the investors come for. They are looking for return on investment, how they can build their product and attract the people to come and buy their products or to experience their products through the biggest platform in Africa, which is football. So let me tell you that AFCON delivered over 3 billion TV audience around the world. 3 billion. So imagine the number that the people can see your brand around our matches, the activation that you do to attract people. So let me tell you, for example, we had Moroccan Airlines was a main partner for the AFCON Morocco. And once we done our survey, we work with the biggest research companies in the world, like Nielsen, for example. So when we done the survey of the preferred airline for the 1.5 million visitors that came to Morocco, 90% said Air Morocco. Why? Because they knew them from the activations, from the promotions, from the packages they did, from being active on our digital platform, we supported. So these are the numbers that the partners are looking for. So for example, for Uganda tourism, we put KPIs of visitors to come visit Uganda. These are the things that we need to focus on with the support of the tourism authorities, the ministers, and also the Football Federation here doing a very good job to attract these people by doing different packages, airlines, attractions, all these things. I think it will be an incredible platform for everyone to come and invest and come to Uganda. So we will have the qualifications in September, and then we will announce about the qualified 24 teams that will come and play in Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania. And this is where I think the world will be looking at this part of the world. And I think AFCON can deliver fantastic numbers for the economy and for the tourism authorities in these countries.
Thank you very much. Can we thank him, please? We are actually talking about an area that is number one in terms of volume and value as far as tourism is concerned. So I want to thank you very much for giving us those key highlights. And right now I just move directed to Dr. Azza. Fufa, how ready are we? I know the country is investing a lot in terms of the airports and so many other things, but as Fufa, how do you see our readiness as far as hosting this big event is concerned? And how do you see Ugandans benefiting?
Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Azza. I'm the second vice president at the Federation of Uganda Football Associations. And we can confirm that the country is day by day getting ready for AFCON 2027. You will note that we have a local organizing committee that has been working hard to ensure that AFCON is the best in CAF's history. And we believe Uganda will pull it off, because we believe that Uganda is a vibrant, happy, and exciting country. And for us as a federation, our job really has been to galvanize the whole country to rally around sports, to rally around football, and we believe we are achieving on that end. In regards to sports tourism and investment, you will note that this particular tournament presents Uganda a rare opportunity to actually greatly contribute to the tenfold growth strategy through tourism, because sports tourism right now is the emerging economy that brings in billions of dollars in the country, but also brings a lot of happiness and sometimes stress to the losing teams. So we have been working with UTB since last year. And the purpose of working with UTB is to say, okay, can we now start to diversify our products beyond the gorillas, beyond the wildlife that we have? Can we now start creating visibility on the tournament to attract investments in music, in hospitality, in culture, in our roads, in our transport? You will note that right now, the country is investing over 2 trillion Uganda shillings in terms of roads, health, hospitals, cleanliness, sanitation, in preparedness for AFCON 2027. So our job as a country is to say, okay, what is it that the private sector then is doing to make themselves ready to tap the opportunities that will come with the tournament? The tournament will bring lots of visitors. As young people, there are lots of jobs that are created along the value chain of this football game. You will note that within just jobs alone. You are talking of musicians. You are talking of content creators. You are talking of hotels employing millions of Ugandans. You are talking of, food supply chains. What would be bad for a tourist to come in Uganda before the tournament? Visit our tourist sites. Test our food. Test our music. Test our culture. Attend a game. After the game, what happens? The fans that come for football do not just come for football. That is the beauty about football. That is why it's the biggest platform of investment. Because when a fan comes to a country, he's looking forward to the pre-match activities. Very exciting pre-match activities. During the match, what are the experiences that they get beyond just watching the game? But most importantly, after the game. That is the time when you will see everyone moving around, not going home at 10 o'clock, but trying to go in a hangout to experience the country's culture, to experience the country's nightlife, so that they have experiences that they will talk about beyond the games. So it's important that as investors, we now start tapping into, if I have a small house, a beautiful house, how do I turn that in an A and B? Housing, to make sure that I also benefit from the dividends that will come with this tournament. If a content creator, how do I position myself? Films, I had the first segment of this day, talking about films. How then are you making yourself ready for the tournament? Because the tournament will come, it will bring in visitors, but even the local people. Remember, we'll have people moving from Karamoja to Kampala. We'll have people moving from Hoima from Kampala to Hoima. But their experience between Kampala to Hoima will have a very big impact on where to go. What are the destinations on those routes? What are the hotels they can stop in? What are the recreation centers that are on their road, so that they can have a very beautiful experience within this country? So I can say that the country is actually getting ready, but is the private sector. This should be a private sector driven to attract investment so that the country can benefit. Not only in terms of roads, but also in terms of the jobs, in terms of the income in your pocket. It would be a shame that AFCON comes here and then you walk out and say the benefit was just me watching a game. I want all of us in here to start thinking, as an individual, as a company, who can I partner with jointly to make sure that we can invest, for example, in a small nightlife, in a local food that is high-end, and register those with UTB, so that then we can increase visibility on those destination hotspots that will be around during the tournament. That is when I will say that the country is benefiting, not only the visitors, but even the country, the local people have felt AFCON. Beyond AFCON, us as a federation, we're actually looking beyond AFCON. How do we position with all this infrastructure that is coming on? You have heard we are building stadiums right now with support from government. It's putting up stadiums, is supporting hoteliers to expand their hotels. But after AFCON, we do not envision stalled investments. We want to say beyond AFCON, can we then start concentrating on MICE, bringing in football-related events in the country, conferences. CAF is here. What is wrong with CAF giving us their annual conference in Uganda? We can bid for those things as long as the country is here. We can get FIFA here. And when we get FIFA here, we are talking of big businesses around here. So we do not want our stadiums and our investments to be stalled investments, but we want to put them to use beyond AFCON. And then that is when the economy will benefit pre, during, and post-AFCON. And I believe we are ready and will be ready.
Okay, can we please thank her very much? Thank you very much, Dr. Azza. You have actually answered my second question, because I was going to ask, we are seeing a lot of investments from government, and I was going to ask about the position of private sector. So you have already highlighted on it. So I think let's move from that, we go to international hotel brands. Because it is on record that they are very key in terms of positioning destinations. And we have got two experts here. So I will begin with Philip. I don't know if you have a microphone. Does that work? So in your view, Philip, how do you think international hotel brands can help position Uganda as far as tourism is concerned and investment?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I know everyone is hungry at that time, but the subject is very interesting. First of all, my name is Jean-Philippe Bitancourt. I've been 10 years working for the tourism sector, hospitality, of course, in Uganda. I have 42 years in hospitality, actually, so it's quite a long journey. I've been working in different parts before being in Eastern Africa. In Eastern Africa, it's about 13 years. Before I was in Middle East, South America, and Europe. I worked for the past 13 years for Sheraton, and before I was with the French group called Accor. I had the opportunity in my very beginning, the beginning of my career, to work for the opening of Disneyland in Paris. It was a great experience. It was creating a new destination in a place that there was nothing. What about Marriott, the company I work for? It's today one of the largest hospitality companies in the world. And we are very proud to be very present in Eastern Africa and in Uganda. Sheraton is one of the brands that belongs to Marriott. There is about 37 brands now. When we had the merging between Marriott and Starwood, we were about 30 brands. So since then, 7 brands have been created. And we have in Uganda, apart from the Sheraton, which is heritage, which is a hotel that has been here as a Sheraton for the past 40 years. We had the acquisition of Protea Group. So we have 3 Protea Group hotels in Uganda, 2 in Kampala and 1 in Entebbe. Our last joiner was the 4 Points by Sheraton. My colleague is here. Sometimes there is some confusion about why 4 Points is called Sheraton, why Sheraton, but it's confusing, I can understand, but these are 2 different brands. We have different owners also. I mean, most of the development of companies like Marriott that are huge in Africa is through franchise. There are a few properties which are managed properties, but most of the hotels that have been opening recently are franchise. There is a new one coming on board very soon. I believe in 1 month or a couple of months is the Marriott. That will be the first Marriott in Uganda. And the opening might be in July. They are almost ready. But Marriott overall is about 9,000 locations, is about 1.6 million rooms all over the world. So it's really massive. And next year, we will celebrate 100 years existence. So this is the power of a brand. It's been there, and it started not as a hotel. It was a little restaurant taken care by Mr. and Mrs. Marriott. And from there, they built this empire. And one of the, I would say, the most prominent and visible brands worldwide. Sheraton is one of the brands and also has a large history. It's 430 hotels worldwide. And Sheraton is the gathering place, is where people meet. There is a very strong accent in community. And it's been there since 1937, so it's 90 years existence. Sheraton Kampala, before being Sheraton, it was Apollo, still Apollo in the register. And we are very proud. This hotel will be celebrating its 60th anniversary next year. It was built between 65 and 67. I don't think many of you were born at the time. I was born because I was born with Uganda. I was born in 62, so I was made to come to Uganda, I'm sure. I was predestinated. So I'm just a few months older than Uganda. But yeah, Sheraton, it became Sheraton 87 when the hotel reopened. And we are very proud to carry this brand. So opportunities for brands are there, but of course the model, as I say, we need to find investors, and investors might have discussions with the developers and find which is the most suitable brand for that market. Marriott at the moment is looking a lot into developing into the lodges. They already started in Kenya, and here in Uganda there are 2 projects ongoing. So the interest is there. Of course, that there is interest also in developing some of our brands that can fit secondary cities like Mbarara, like Gulu, like even in Jinja. Why not? So, but the investors have to show the capability of building up the facility. And of course, what's very important is to follow the guidelines, and guidelines are very important in terms of standards, in terms of safety security, in terms of concepts. So the amount to be invested, it's definitely more important if one decides to build a hotel on his own. And this is one of the things that has to be understood by investors in Uganda. It's that, yes, the cost of the investment will be higher in going for an international brand. The cost of being part of that network, it's also higher, but it can brings a lot back. International brands offer a platform where you are visible, present all over the world. You don't need to be sending people in different destinations. They can find you, because today we are really into the digital sales. So we are present in all the online travel agencies, in online platforms. Our own website is extremely powerful, and one of the targets that Marriott has, like, is really to drive the business directly to our website, rather than passing by the apologies if there are people from booking.com or Expedia here. We pay a lot of commission for those. If we drive the business through our website, there is no commission involved. So it's much better for the owner, is much better for also the booker. The loyalty program, this is another very powerful tool. It creates loyalty. It creates that link so that those members will keep on using our brands. One day they stay at Sheraton Kampala, one day they stay at 4 Points. They can try different products depending on the profile of their trip, if it's a business trip, if it's a leisure trip, what kind of budget they have, but they have options. Every dime, cent that one member spend in our hotels, they get points. It's in rooms, it's in events, it's in food and beverage, so they get a return for the money, but they are exigent too. There are different levels. It's like airline companies. You start at just a member, you move to silver, platinum, and then you reach titanium until you become an ambassador. So an ambassador is the guest that have all the rights. He has upgrade, early check-in, late check-out, access to the lounge, VIP amenity. You have really to take care of this guest. And this leads me to one very important point. It's about the capacity that we have to deliver experience. I'm not talking anymore about service, we're talking about the experience. And for that, we need people that have experience, we need people that are qualified, we need people that are trained. This is one of the challenges that I still, after 10 years, there are improvements, but still I feel in Uganda, we need to push more for the training, the capacitation of our people. We have a very good institute in Jinja, but we need more. We need a hotel, international level school here in Kampala. And I'm not talking about the people that work in hotel. We have very good people for finance, for procurement, for sales and marketing. You guys are fantastic. Human resource. I'm talking about chefs. I'm talking about housekeepers. I'm talking about managers. We have really a big gap in terms of leadership in these areas. We still have to recruit people from outside. There are positions I still have to look into. Kenya, South Africa. If we can afford, sometimes we bring people from a little further down. But we need Ugandan leaders for this position. We need Ugandan chefs that have visibility, that are considered top chefs in the country. There is a lot to be done in these areas. And I am part of certain entities that we are starting to work on that. I am part of one entity called Shane the Rotisseur. It's the people who love food, wines. There are programs that are creating competitions between chefs, competitions between sommeliers, competition between pastry chefs and other, disciplines in hospitality. We need to bring people up. There are beautiful lodges in Uganda, fantastic, but I hear from everyone, the service is still not there. You go to a lodge, you open the menu, and then they say, this we don't have, it is missing. So this is one of some of the challenges related to creating capacity in our people. So it's really important to have a reflection about that and to develop programs to develop people. Some of the challenges also that I hear a lot is about, we spoke about infrastructure, but if you build a beautiful lodge, a beautiful hotel in a remote area, how do we have access there? The roads are in bad condition. There is a lot of construction going on, but it's maybe not enough. Even if you talk about Kampala or the surrounding areas of Kampala, there are beautiful hotels by the Lake Victoria, Entebbe. Let's talk about Jinja. Sometimes it takes 3 hours to go. I mean, some people, they just give up going to Jinja because even if they have a very good time there, the time they take to go, and especially after a weekend relaxed and enjoying what Jinja has to offer, the way back kills it. When are we going to have a road? Or why we don't, I don't know, why trucks are using the road at the same time as people? There are countries that they have put times. Trucks only circulate during nighttime. Daytime, peak hours, it's only vehicles. So there are things that have to be taught. Even in Kampala, we see the condition of the streets, the roads, the traffic. The traffic is increasing. There are more and more vehicles. So people complain. People that comes here for Congress, conferences, people that come for business, they really look where they're going to stay according to the distance of what they have to do, because traffic is a challenge. Airport services. The airport is looking beautiful, it's going to get better, but the service at the airport, honestly, I don't go through VIP, but if you go to the normal way that most of the tourists go, on the way in and the way out, really we need to rethink about it. It's really not a good experience. Last time I came back, it took me 2 hours between the moment the plane landed until I exited, because immigration was a big queue. And I am a resident, but I was there with all Ugandans queuing and waiting. There was one person or two, and they take so long. Then you go to the place to get your luggage. It's so many luggages, and it's just one carousel. And I mean, it took literally 2 hours. So if you're coming for business, you have meetings, you lose your meetings. If you are a tourist, you want to start enjoying, it's too long. So there are things to be thought about. Incentives. I hear a lot about incentives for new hotels, new properties. What about the properties that need renovation? We need to think about what kind of incentives. the list of products that my friend here from Uganda Investment Authority mentioned, it's an outdated list. We need to update. Technologies, materials have changed. I am eliminating carpets in rooms. It's carpetless because people now have a lot of allergies and carpets I know are very bad. There is new type of flooring, vinyl flooring, all that. This is not in the list. I pay taxes on that. There are some products that are related to branding. I cannot buy them in Uganda. I have to bring them for elsewhere. Can we consider paying 50% of this taxation? So for investors, all these things are put in the balance. We pay more than 25 taxes and licenses still. There is a lot of discussion. I am a member of UHOA, and I know how much our chair lady do for us, and it's pushing, but where are we going exactly? All the entities talk about this taxation on hotels and the number, some of them are overlapping. So at the end, it's your P&L that pays the bill, and an investor from outside, he look at this, so is it really worthwhile to invest? So let's think about these questions. I hope that the AFCON will be an opportunity for everyone, inclusive, transparent. It's very important. A lot of people are waiting to hear more about how is going to be AFCON, what are the opportunities for the tourism sector, hospitality sector. Please, we are waiting. I congratulate, there is a lot that was done, as mentioned here, in terms of marketing promotion in the past years. Uganda is getting there in the picture, people are getting to know more. Some markets started to be very aware about the Pearl of Africa. Some others, we still have to do more. But I see some colleagues, ambassadors, like Rosa Malango, and the ambassadors of Uganda representing us in different countries. They are really pushing hard, organizing events that really are about to give more visibility for the country. We have done also a lot in MICE. I think that about 10 years ago, MICE, what's MICE? A lot of training has been done, a lot of business has been driving, so this is really one of the ways to go. It's so important for our industry. Let's continue support. This hotel here and this facility is one of the examples. But probably we will need one bigger than this one if we want to attract bigger events. I heard that there are some projects about that. I'm going to stop for the moment.
Okay, thank you very much.
Can you thank you.
Thank you very much. So that we can give Mr. Mago an opportunity. And I think we need to pick from, we don't have another one there? You need to pick it up from what he has presented. He touched a little bit on the difficulties that Uganda is having as a country to attract international brands. And I would want you to pick it from there. Why is it difficult to attract international hotel brands? And the other issue that you can focus on, how best can we break the bubble of international brands? If I can explain, the bubble is that money comes and stays in there, but really a very small percentage trickles down to the population. So in terms of supplies, where do you source? In terms of training, you talked about that we need to train more people that they can be employable, but then try to give more highlights because we would want to tap more as a country. So where do we see opportunities in terms of international hotel brands? Thank you.
Good afternoon and thank you so much for having me. My name is Gaurav Maggu. I work as the general manager with 4 Point Specialist in Kampala. And I've been with the property and in Uganda for about 2.5 years. Before I actually start answering the question, I would like to first kind of get a ground rule saying we've been talking about hospitality and tourism since some time. I think whatever actions that we do as an whatever actions that we do or take as a tourism entity or a hospitality, I think everything should originate from guest as the center point of all our transactions. Because once we start thinking from that perspective, it gives us a lot more clarity on to which direction to follow. Once we have guest at the heart of all transactions, that would lay a path which is much easier. As earlier highlighted by my colleague from Uganda Investment Authority, about tourism, it contributes close to about 6% in terms of GDP to Uganda's net worth. Besides that, hotels and tourism contributes to the, for every dollar spent, it is the one that generates the maximum number of employment. So that this kind of a organization or this kind of a industry needs to be handled a lot more with care, so that we are able to generate much more hotels, whether it's international or a local one. The amount of generation of wealth and the opportunity would still remain the same. As one of the statistics says, that a hotel would generally contribute almost 2 times to the number of people. For example, if you have 100 rooms, you will have 200 people as a direct employment, and 5 times of that as indirect employment through the vendors or the supply chain. So to answer your question, Professor, everything in kind of an international chain, hotel is absolutely transparent. Most of our systems, when I say most of system, I mean the billing systems are absolutely parallel to what happened, is parallel to the URA's portals. So even if a single bill is generated, the same bill is being posted on the URA portfolio or the portal. So I do not see any reason of any kind of a revenue leakages. But as highlighted earlier by the gentleman from UIA, that you can still pay your taxation and still take out the profitability. Since most of our international hotels that exist in Kampala today or Entebbe, a couple of those owners are still based somewhere else, and it's more like a foreign investment. So that's why, that's the probably reason that you would be seeing that you don't see too much money. But I still see 95% of or 98% of our recruitments are all local recruitments. 100% of our supply chains are local chains, unless something is not generated or produced in Uganda. Otherwise, every single produce, every single material, everything is local, including the manpower and the human capital is everything which is from the locally sourced. So, and there is no reason for anybody to look outside, because in terms of, as highlighted earlier by a couple of my panelists, human capital is exceptionally great in Uganda. They are naturally English speaking. They have a great attitude, absolutely humble. So I think that is something you don't really need to look out for something, and that's a basis of any hospitality or a tourism is a base for anything. So, and plus they have a greatest and the best fresh produce, so we do not look for anything which is outside. Coming back to your first part where Mr. Bittencourt left about the international hotel chains, I think international hotel chains play a major role in elevating the global profile of Uganda. Today's traveler, whichever kind of traveler we want to categorize them as, whether they are luxury, high-end, backpackers, culture seeker, experience seekers, they are not just looking for beds to sleep in. They are seeking something which is beyond that. And beyond that is they're seeking experiences. And the experience can be of multiple times. Somebody might be seeking an eco-escape. Somebody may be coming here specifically for a mice. And every individual will have a different requirement. That takes me to my first point, what I said, that we must start looking everything from a guest or a customer perspective. We call them guest because it makes it more emotionally bound for us. Customer can be anyone. So that's why we call in a hotel line, you call every person who walks in as a guest, so that you have an emotional connect with them and you are bound to give them service. International hotels, as I've highlighted, the impact for international hotels just extends beyond just having them stay with us and having them eat with us. I think it attributes to a large extent towards the tourism economy. It adds towards the digital visibility. In terms of other things that I think besides having an international chain, it also helps an investment confidence both within the local community and even from the outsider. If, for example, you have an outsider coming in and he says, 5 international brands or 7 international brands, that definitely builds in a lot of confidence. And confidence because an international chain would definitely have a lot more systematic approach in terms of the delivery of standards. And guests who are coming from abroad would not want to would not want to experiment something new. Yeah, and there's a lot of transparency in terms of expenses also. And as highlighted by Mr. Bittencourt also earlier, loyalty plays a huge, huge part, because loyalty isn't anymore about collecting points. Loyalty is a new ecosystem of branding and marketing which airlines started, and I think hotels have taken it to a next extent. Loyalty is what defines today where the guest is going to stay, how much they spend, where they spend, which destination they go to. Yeah, so that is where international chain comes into it. And what also, I think most of us, even in this room, everybody has a smartphone. I don't think so even single person would be here who does not have smartphone and is not working while they're also here. So what also makes impact is the digital connectivity that international hotels have, because we take some of those things extremely seriously. We work on a principle that for every room there should be 2 Mbps of a speed. Yeah, so those are some things which definitely add a value to a customer, because those are no more fancy stuffs. I think these are extremely basic, and that is what the guests are looking at it. And international chain, as we've been discussing, also helps in strengthening the business, strengthening the conference and MICE business. It also, international chain hotels would also help us in getting more events like CAF. They understand that the city has a potential to hold 100,000 people, 200,000 people, if they're coming for a specific sports match, football or something like that. It encourages tourism and airline growth, expanding the employment and skills, because the more international hotels and more international chains you have, the more diverse and updated food and beverage offerings you'll have, the more high-end standards you would have in terms of housekeeping and front office. So we do not have an option at that point of time to be substandard, but we have to elevate our standards. So I think those are some of the benefits that the international hotel chain brings to the table.
Okay, thank you very much. Can we thank him, please? Thank you very much. So we have got our last speaker, and then I think we shall open to some questions. I know it is getting to lunchtime, so depending on the interest of the audience, then we shall see. So Madam Brenda Kabasingus, the marketing expert. Now to you, particularly, I would want you to comment about, how do you comment about Uganda's online visibility? And what do you see to be the main challenge as far as marketing Uganda is concerned? Is it the branding? Is it the online visibility? And in terms of the online presence, how do you see the constraints in terms of attracting investment and tourists to the country?
Thank you very much to the audience. Thank you very much for sitting in, and it's a very interesting discussion we're having. My name is Brenda Kabasinguzi. I am a manager export marketing, was in charge of services at the Uganda Free Zones and Export Promotions Authority. I would like to very quickly deliver warm regards from my executive director, or our executive director, Mr. Heza Linda Kimomi, who would have loved to be here, but due to circumstances beyond control, he's unable to be here, but ably represented by myself. Uganda Free Zones and Export Promotions Authority is a government agency under the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, which is a statutory body that was enacted by an act of parliament, the Uganda Free Zones and Export Promotions Act of 2024, and were mandated to establish, manage, develop, supervise and control free zones in Uganda, but also, coordinate all export-related activities in the country, including tourism, including creatives, including ICT, which is the base that we are discussing today. And so just to answer just before I answer your question, I'd like to shed a little bit of light on what a free zone is. A free zone is a gazetted area within a country which is exempt from import duties on inputs and applicable charges therein, but also exempt from export duties on outputs, all right? And the aim of having this is, or doing this is to, increase production and also export competitiveness for our goods and services. And so government is very keen on having these instruments, such as free zones, to make our country export ready, but also competitive, so that we can quench the burgeoning demand for our services. And for today, I will speak to tourism. Tourism is a very important sector for our country. It is our #1 service. There's no doubt about that. In 2025 alone, it contributed 57% of Uganda's services exports. That was about 1.62 billion thereabouts, right? And that serves to show how important tourism is. And so we are taking a step in the right direction to have these kind of conversations, right? So what the Free Zones Authority does is we do regulate free zones. We also do provide fiscal and non-fiscal incentives, all right? And the fiscal incentives are essentially corporate tax, 10% for the first 10 years, 15% the next 10 years, and then subsequently 30% for the subsequent years of investment. We also do have VAT exemptions on inputs, zero-rated VAT on inputs from suppliers from the regular economy into the free zones, and also, from the regular economy into the free zones, yes. But we also have stamp duty, excise duty exemptions. We also have withholding tax exemptions, which speak to professional fees, maintenance fees. I could go on and on. So that is just to show you that government is keen on developing our offerings, but also providing an enabling environment for us to operate in. Now, I will move on to answer the question. We already, like the executive director, no, the CEO of UTB mentioned, we already have demand for our offerings. We already do have the offerings. Where the gap is the experience. We don't have that kind of experience, and it is incumbent on us to sell the experience. Now, I will quickly mention one of the lowest hanging fruits of driving this, driving this, or quenching the demand that there is already. It is the creatives sector. Now, if we could, as government, put up a serviced incubation hub for the creative sector, then would be able to harness the digital spaces that we already have, because the creatives do a lot of digital usage or utilization, but they would also market our tourism offerings to the global spaces, or to our or to where the demand is, all right? And now, just to speak to where the gaps are in terms of the opportunities, we do have gaps in various pockets of our tourism, where our tourism offerings are, and for us to be able to create these experiences which the demand is looking for, or which the demand is so willing to pay heavily for, we need to convert what we already have into commercially viable projects. So as a country, we have these offerings, like we already mentioned. We have the wildlife, we have the lake, we have Lake Victoria, we have the River Nile, but we are not yet at the level where we have converted to make these offerings commercially viable. And one of the vehicles we could do that, we could use to do that, would be preparing bankable projects. First of mapping our country into these free zone gazetted areas, and then doing feasibility studies and coming up with bankable projects, which then speak to the investors or the potential investors and developers. Show them the way the money is going to replicate and come back to them, or how then they would be able to have that the rate of the return, and how that works out for them. So once that is commercially viable, we'll be able to sell. Now, we do have the spaces, all right, the digital spaces available, because government has been very keen, again, for the ICT sector or the innovators, the ones who are into the digital space. We already have the national ICT hub, where they just go to incubate ideas, right? And then we also have the regulatory sandboxes where the fintechs test their ideas to ensure that they are export ready before they can export. Now, we need to have these spaces, intentional ones, that are going to drive our marketing for our tourism offerings. And that is like the service incubation hub I mentioned for the creatives. Because once we have that hub, then the creatives are going to be export ready. And then we also have to ensure that we have systems in place to be able to certify the creatives, because they'll not be recognized on the global scene unless they are certified. Standards are everything for us to be able to export, or even to translate what we have into a commercially viable export. So we as Uganda Free Zones Authority are here. We are in the tent right at the flag masts. Today we're supporting the participation of Tubayo, which is a Ugandan innovator who has developed a marketplace, something that works like booking.com, all right? So we're calling on to the private sector. Please do visit our stall or our booth where Tubayo is hosted today and tomorrow, so you can get onboarded. Onboarding is free, so you can market your offering, however much small, as long as you ensure that you have standards, of course, and I mean, you have a product that can actually, or a service that can actually be sellable. Please do pass by so you can onboard, and then we get these returns, or we get this business already running for us. But you can also open up your websites. You can also leverage technology. Government has done so much in terms of technology, so that one is not so much of our problem. Now, our problem is, and I'll tell you lastly, just as I conclude, our problem is just where we have these circuits. In the past, we came up with what we call the tourism development areas, right? But the opportunities for investment or for the developers lie within or along those corridors. And one of them is the Chikube in Hoima, for example. Now we know that we have lots of developments coming up with the oil and all. So now there's an opportunity therein for us to sell or to come up with country resorts in that area. We're going to have lots of expatriates. We're going to have banks. We're going to have transport services therein. We have the Antonov coming up, which will be doing heavy cargo lifting for Uganda, DRC. So how about a country resort around that area where we can sell the experience, but also host the expatriates and everybody else that comes to the oil value chain thereabout, and also leverage the existence of the Kabalega International Airport around that area. And then down to the Hoima Stadium. Of course, we have the Hoima City Stadium, but then we don't have any 4-star hotels around that area. So that is also another opportunity where we can develop a bankable project and sell to a developer to come and do the development. And just like it was mentioned earlier, the vehicle to do that, because these are highly capital-intense investments, the vehicle to do that would be private-public partnerships, all right? And if we went up north, then we'd go to the the formidable Murchison Falls. There's an opportunity there for houseboats, you know. If we can come up with a bankable project on houseboats, we'd be able to harness the opportunity therein. And now the Uganda Wildlife Authority has taken back rhinos, we all know that, right, to the Ajai area. So how about, you know, accommodation, some kind of luxury accommodation in that area? And then if we went up all the way to Karamoja, we would have the Pianope area. We also, you know, have a bankable project around that in terms of accommodation. And then also in Jinja, that's where we would have a bankable project for the mice that we've been talking about. How about a 10,000-seater for a conference facility around Jinja? So these are some of the areas that we could map out, have feasibility studies for, do costed bankable projects, which will, you know, entice, which will also actually be easy for us to market. Because as we go to market, we no longer want to have the narrative that we had before, where we just go and say, oh, as Uganda, we have this, we have that, and there's nothing to speak to it in terms of numbers. And so as I conclude, those are some of the opportunities that are untapped, but there's an opportunity for us to do it intentionally, and we can only do it together through a whole of government approach that is hinged on private sector support to drive development. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much, Brenda. Okay, I think we just need to use a few minutes to ask questions. Now you are free to ask any of the people around. Let me see the people have questions. Can we use about 5 minutes? Okay, please take the microphone. Just mention the person you are asking and we take a note. Let's begin here, you know, as we go behind. There's somebody there. It is not on? Okay. And let's be brief, just to the question, please.
Thank you so much for this lovely discussion. As first of all, we are preparing for AFCON. My question is, we've been talking about infrastructure here a lot, and we have not talked about information infrastructure. How do our guests access information, right? For example, right now, I don't know any Ugandan who is worried about Ebola. A host, you guys are here, you host people in your hotels. No one is worried about Ebola. My friend was coming in on the 5th of June from the States, but they canceled. And I'm so sure all of you guys are seeing cancellations around the place. Now, my question would be to Ms. Kagwa. I'm called Darius Twesigomwe. I didn't even introduce myself. I'm called Darius Twesigomwe. I'm the founder of SmartChat AI Solutions. We are trying to make bespoke AI products to help clients get to...
Question, please.
Yes.
Question.
So my question is, does like UTB have a plan with to partner with us technology guys who are trying to help out to fill these gaps, like Doctor has said, that come from the private sector?
Okay, thank you very much. She has taken note. Another question, please.
UTB and all the fraternity, it is a great felicity to see this function takes place today. And these are pertinent issues when you talk about unexploited opportunities for investment in the country. I mark about 3 items that I see is not handled. One, exploitation of our natural tourism sites has not been satisfactory as it should have been. And I challenge the marketeer lady and UTB executive director to enforce the team so that we collect enough data on this. One of them is Lutotoro Falls at Lamour district. 1939 to 1949, That was where the late Queen Elizabeth was hidden in when World War I and II rocked Europe. What are we benefiting as a country from that? Two, the pastoral communities and nomads, the Kejongs. Some tourists are interested to meet these kind of groups, and they get some information about them. What are their setbacks in their transformation and revolutionizing their lives? You need to have this. Then cultural institutions diversity. In Uganda, there are only two types of cultural institutions. One is a kingdom, and we have only four. Toro Kingdom, Buganda Kingdom, Busoga Kingdom, and Bunyoro. The rest are chiefdoms. And chiefdoms, they elect their paramount chiefs to coach their government. Why don't you talk about this? I feel it's a niche. We talk about cultural dances. Actually, sub-region. I did not do mathematics. When you talk about cultural heritage dances of actually sub-region, we have over 20. This is an entertainment lacuna that you did not exploit. Why? These dances, they all have purposes. One, funeral. Two, war. Three, matrimony and marriages. Five, celebration of twin birth. You are not talking about them. Why?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Food rich, a moment, give me 15 seconds if mathematics could allow me. We are talking about menu for attraction of the tourists. The kind of food that comes from actually sub-region. Madam, you did not bring here. Otherwise, you will not get out. Museum is not in the regions in Uganda. How are you fitting in that gap of vacuum? Tourism Education Center in Uganda, we have only one in Jinja. We have not cultivated human resource capital development in the sector so that we can address the emerging needs with the .com community. How are you filling the gap? And here you're sitting with policy and members of parliament. Fortunately, when I was in South Africa, I did my part. What of the local domestic parliament doing? We have only in Jinja. Why? We are talking about historical tourism sites. Northern Uganda in Gulu, Fort Speak. Have you talked about it? No. Number two in that, Sir Samuel Becker School, a memorial tourism asset. And this guy left London to come and explore. And we built a school in his memory. Why don't you talk about this kind of interesting lacunas? Last, the audience, most audience, yesterday I was approached by 20 journalists who would wish if you could organize CEO of UTB. They meet the president and they discuss with him. That is a tourism sector because they admire him so much, but access is problematic. Thank you.
Let's have the mic of the speaker. Yes. Entertainment lacuna.
Thank you so much, our presenters. I have a simple question and a suggestion. We are all talking about selling services, but we all know that right now people no longer buy services but experiences. This goes to the Fufa lady. Thank you so much. Last year, we were having a tournament in Morocco, and our Ugandan friends, I have friends who went, they were in fun centers, but I've not seen any construction of that kind in the country. Because you expect that if you're at all going to sell the cultural experiences, the food experiences, these things should be at the fun centers. Because you're not going to find those things at Sheraton or any other hotel. How are we looking at that? And how are we leveraging the digital connections in the country? Because you go to Chidepo and a friend calls you and tells you, Aaron, I can't access the internet. What's happening here? So how are we looking into that as we're building capacity for the middle income status we are dreaming of? Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I think we are having 1, 2, and then we give them an opportunity to respond.
Hello, everyone. By the name's Nabi for Brenda. I work together with Herman Pado. We were the first people to construct Pado courts in Uganda. And my question goes to the sports lady. Have you taken any initiative to look around in the other sports, or you are much focused on only football? We normally host tournaments, and we would love you to come by, also to support, to look out, to check out, because it's more of a community which is open to everyone. It's for every age, even the old ones can play it. Thank you so much.
Okay, she's from FUFA, so yes. I presume it will be football. Can we?
Thank you very much. Dennis Businje is my name. I'm one of the stakeholders in the tourist industry. Thanks to Juliana UTB and the gentleman from UIA. You give us very good insights. Straight to the question, mine is on import duty for local investors who are interested into the tourist industry. We well know that there are import duties that are exempted when we are starting up with the various equipment, beddings, etc., etc. But when you work out the math, someone who has bought these things from around here, from people who have already imported, sometimes the difference is not much. So are there ways of exempting taxes? Because import duty has already been paid by those people who have them locally. And if it is ascertained that someone is already investing here, why shouldn't you waive that import duty and save the burden and the long chain? Thank you.
Okay, I think I will close the questions there. We are going to have these people over lunch, and I request people who have more questions. Let's interact more over lunch. Can I give an opportunity to people who have been asked to respond very quickly so that we close the session?
I think I'll start with the gentleman on what are we doing in terms of infrastructure on information and improving, I think, our narrative and storytelling. There's, I think, a lot of improvement versus the years gone by in terms of how we're controlling the information that leaves Uganda, especially, national news. I'll reference the most recent incident in and around one imported case of Ebola, which I think the Uganda Media Center handled very well. And I think you've seen statements from the new ED, Alan Kasuja, who we're lucky enough has, a background not just in any media, but BBC, and therefore is an influencer and an authority in that space itself. And I think the recruitment of Alan was intentional for that reason. So it's not an accident that he's there. It's a conversation that's live between MDAs in terms of how we control the narrative leaving this country, but also improve it. So there's a national communications task force that I think more recently was chaired by, coincidentally, private sector, so Simon Kaheru. I think he's recently done his term and they're looking for another replacement. But that task force or communications contingent is very interesting because it's both, it's a collaboration between private and public sector. So your question was about how do you, that's what I heard, as a private sector player, how do you participate? Or how do you use your engine, you're an AI expert, to augment or supplement government efforts in this space? And the reason I bring that task force up, because it's only one framework. When I spoke earlier, I said we need to create vehicles, frameworks, partnerships, collaborations on how to best promote Uganda. So promoting Uganda is a job, I think, of both public and private sector. So to answer your last question, because you gave a long statement, is there room for us? Is there space for us? I heard you saying that. Is there room for government to onboard, or even private sector, to onboard your expertise? The short answer to that is yes, 1,000%. This year, Uganda Tourism Board, I think for the first time in a long while, because the government is investing behind tourism, was able to afford the services of a digital firm. So we have a digital firm on retainer now. It's a tender we put out in, where's my team? I think in October. I don't know if you bid, did you? You missed the tender? Well, we do it annually. So I think for me that's an avenue. It's a vehicle for you to participate in how we're telling and controlling information. But on that one, it's also very interesting, and I thank you for bringing it up, because I keep saying this, you know, both personally and professionally. There's a thing about us where I don't see it with Kenyans, I don't see it with Egyptians. Maybe I'm not exposed to their media space. I don't see it with Rwanda. I definitely don't see it with Nigerians. These countries I've mentioned, and these are the ones near us, they have a thing called, I think, a cabinet position. They close ranks. Something happens, there's a crisis, they close ranks. Uganda, there's a thing, and I can only say it in my vernacular. There's a way bad news here can travel. It's incomparable. We share borders with DRC, same way Rwanda does. But the silence, the other side, you can hear a pin drop. But here, our social media engine that should be protecting, defending our sovereignty. I don't know if people know the power they have online when they do some of these things. Ugandans online, we've got to close ranks, man. I said it again in my opening remarks. Nobody is coming to save us. It's just us. We've only got us. So if we break ranks and we're the ones also dispelling, hey, now look at the roads, oh my God, it's a crisis. I never see that narrative from other countries. On the contrary, you try and post something right now, this minute, about Kenya. You see if you survive. Immediately, the Kenyans, I don't even know where they come from. They have their internal information, which they manage. When they have issues with the government, they deal with it there. But not the other way, to start calling for help from international communities. Come and save us from here. So I think there's something we need to do, and we need you, private sector. There's way more of you than there will ever be of civil servants. So is there room, is there a role for you, 100%, to shape the narrative? You can partner formally, you can get a contract with Tourism Board, UIA, UCC, even informally, you have a role to play. I'll move to Honorable. Honorable, you didn't ask a question. I feel like you were sharing solutions. And I'd like to invite you to have a more, how can I say, in-depth conversation. Because what you were mentioning are bankable projects, what this lady has talked about. But again, Honorable, and it's good you've been in government, probably still are, right? Yeah, this sector is private sector led. There is nothing stopping a Ugandan citizen from starting to leverage. Did you talk about Fort Patiko? And exactly. There is nothing stopping you. Yes, government can facilitate, enable, create framework, etc. But ideas, innovation, productivity, that is all private sector. Because you're going to make money. You're going to make commercial profits from whatever product you develop. So I love that you have a long list and you came with a narrative. But let's have a conversation with our product development team about how we facilitate private sector to invest in those places. Let government do the work of, yes, roads, etc. But government will never buy a cable car, a hot air balloon, to go over Ajay. That's where we need private sector to come in. So in Uganda Investment Authority, I think you have had. Free zones you've had. He has done the research. He has done all the research. We don't need to do anything more on that. It's about now, how do we create a bankable project out of all the opportunities you've listed for private sector to come and invest. You know that my door is open of all the people here because you've walked in and out of it. So I don't want you to pretend like we don't know each other. People are like, hey, that man has really come with. I know that man. I know Honorable very well. So the door is open. Let's have the conversation. I'll leave it at that. Thank you. Thank you,
Very
Honorable.
good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Someone said, why are you only focusing on football? My space is football because I come from the Federation of Uganda Football Association. The opportunity for you is how then do you move this big platform? Create visibility on that game to move this platform to your game. I mean, that is some work you can do, but also with us, we can discuss on how to get the football fraternity to your space. Someone said, where are the funds amidst all these discussions that you are saying? How many people support football? Who supports a football team, local and internationally? Every single week, midweek, we are having challenges of Ugandans fighting against these football clubs that mainly are not even Ugandan clubs, but they are, into those foreign clubs, and every single day, every single challenge. What about you having challenges about the tourism sites of Uganda? What about you having challenges of the Ugandan football teams? That is just something for us. But for purposes of where the funds are, AFCON is 2027, specifically June. So what we are doing right now is to have strategies to activate excitement in the funds before AFCON, but also what will we do? Of course, the fun packs will be there. Both UTB and a local organizing committee through CAF, of course, will have fun packs all over the country. That's where fans will come in and watch the games, but then what other benefits? And those are the things I said earlier on. Beyond watching a game, what else will we have? Because the fan that comes to Uganda does not come on the match day. It comes before the match day. How do they spend their time before match day, and then after the game, where do they spend their extra time? Before they leave the country. The tournament is a month-long tournament, meaning that there is a possibility a fan will stay in Uganda for about a week or two, or even 3 weeks, depending on crisscrossing from Kampala, Nairobi, Tanzania, around there. So what we are doing right now is to have strategies to do fan activations, but also bringing ourselves and UTB together with other partners, private sector, are trying to work out a consortium that will then help into the activations, but also excitement so that we move people from Karamoja, Gulu, wherever they are to enjoy the game because it's in our country. And it's a big opportunity. It will take a long time for AFCON to come back to Uganda. I think CAF knows that because this is something that's a lifetime opportunity for us, not only to enjoy the game, but also to reap the benefits that come with the tournament.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Azza. I know there could be some more or other interesting questions, but of course it is healthy that we have a lunch break.
Excuse me, sorry. There's
Yes.
a question on import duty, sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah,
okay,
so
please.
to the gentleman who asked about import duty, when you if you have developed, say, I don't know what area you are, but if you've developed, say, a recreational zone, all right, and it is gazetted, I mentioned earlier that you'd have import duty exemptions of your inputs when you import anything to do a value add for your production or for your service, but also you'd have zero-rated value-added tax when you source from Uganda, all right? So that's the zero-rated VAT I spoke to. So when you source from Uganda, as I mentioned, you'd be treated as a territory outside Uganda. So I hope I answered your question. Okay.
Thank you very much. I know there was also another question for investment, but I think allow me stop. We can continue from here. Is that it? Because it's not anything. So I take this opportunity to thank you for being a very fantastic audience. And of course, thank all the panelists. You have been great. Of course, we could not exhaust all the points of discussion, but in a similar vein, of course, I thank UTB. I think this is well done. So Powata is well done. And we expect more and more that we can always have this discussion. We have got quality, people who can always, help us in these discussions. I'm lucky that I'll be sitting in the Parliament, particularly on Tourism Committee, because I will insist that I sit on it. So when budget issues come on Upawate, trust me, I'll support, so that we can really have more. So with that, I think let's close. Let's just give these people a big round of.
All right.
Oh, you have something to communicate. Okay, so lastly, here's something that is hot here. You can communicate it, and then we.
No, I just received a very interesting message. Uganda to host Africa's largest hospitality meeting in February 2027. Wow, 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 that's great.
Okay, so many good things coming as far as Uganda goes. One thing I must tell you, Ugandans, is that the future is what? Is bright. So let's keep the energy. And I know with the leadership of Juliana and so many other people coming on board, there is a lot that I was just very excited when I had so many international hotel brands coming in. And I think with opportunities of AFCON and others, Uganda is destined for the best. So thank you very much. Let's continue interacting and see you.
All right. Before the panelists leave, we are going to excuse the CEO. I think she has a meeting. Yeah, but we're going to have...
We can pose for a photo as...
No, not really. We are going to have a photo. Yeah, sure. Going to
This is the most and the best blessing I ever get from the strict law of the Nile. And thank you, Uganda.
Every waking day is a reminder just how beautiful this, our land, truly is. The kind of beauty that you can only find here. In the lush green all around us and the wondrous sights within. It's what you feel in the gentle caress of tropical wind from the mountaintops. And the glow in your heart from a warm neighborly invite. It's in the distinct aroma of our cooking to the taste of food that takes you on a journey. In the sound of homecoming and the sound of Mother Earth. In the magnificence we find on our travels and the exciting moments we experience. Ours is the kind of beauty that comes in all things big and small. All we have to do is awaken our senses and truly enjoy what's uniquely ours. Explore Uganda, the pearl of Africa.
Welcome to the Pearl of Africa, where adventure meets opportunity. This is Uganda, a destination whose natural wonders, cultural richness, and growing modern infrastructure serve as a bedrock for extraordinary economic opportunities. With a proud history of hosting global meetings, incentives, conferences, and events, Uganda offers everything you need for a successful gathering. Explore vast conference centers, intimate and eco-conscious meeting venues, perfectly tailored for collaboration. Delegates to Uganda enjoy more than just business. They are treated to moments of pure indulgence with luxurious accommodations, refined dining that fuses global cuisine with local flavor, and world-class wellness retreats. Adventure awaits among Uganda's majestic wildlife. Picture yourself face to face with the magnificent mountain gorillas, or journey through iconic national parks where lions lounge in acacia trees. Recharge with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee or the refreshing breeze rolling across lush tea plantations. Here, culture is not just observed, it is lived and shared. For those driven by innovation, Uganda offers fast-growing industries, paving the way for sustainable development. Unwind on award-winning golf courses. Pamper yourself in serene spas. Make an impact while safeguarding this beautiful destination. Meet, connect, explore in Uganda, your premium MICE destination.
When we regained our independence, or even before, we were told that our names were not good. So that when you are Christianized and you are Pipim and you went for baptism and you renounced the devil with all his works, they also said you have to be John. Because in their scheme of things, it appears that the heavens only recognize John, not Pipim. We were told that all the education we had acquired meant nothing. So that if you are eloquent in Ga or in Chui, you are not intelligent. You are only intelligent in English. You can only be intelligent in French, in Portuguese. We now know that that is nonsense. And you know, when that great Nigerian musician in the 1980s, fella Nicola Pokuti said, "Teacher, don't teach me nonsense." He meant it. He was reminding us that we must examine our education system. You know, when the British came here and they were establishing schools across Africa, and then when they were establishing Achimota, which is famous for producing great Ghanaians, the intention was to produce young men and women who would support the colonial empire. The intention was the same in Uganda with Budo's King's College. It was the same in Kenya with the Alliance schools. As Chinua Achebe says, the white man was clever. He came and put a knife in the things that held us together, and things fall apart. And they have remained apart. So today, when we come here to talk about education, we come here to remind ourselves that we have urgent business to be undertaken. We have urgent business to be undertaken to remind ourselves that Martin Luther King Jr. is still right. The mind is the standard of the man. Because if the mind cannot imagine, then we cannot realize our potential. So we are here to interrogate our education system. My good friend, Samuel Pipim, doing the work that he came to do, to lay the ground, reminded you appropriately that we have now become famous for producing graduates in agriculture, some of whom, if you allow me a little latitude and hyperbole, cannot distinguish between a goat and a sheep. And that is why every person you ask in Africa is a farmer, but we are still importing chicken from Brazil. When I sit at the breakfast table in any African country, what am I served with? Nescafe from Nestle in Switzerland. There is not a single coffee bush in Switzerland. When I sit at the breakfast table, cocoa from Nestle, and yet Ghana is the largest producer of cocoa. What happened? We were disrupted. Pipim was right. When we want to build our roads, we have engineers, most of whom today, if you do not address them as engineers so and so, they rise up, ready to beat you up. But yet, when we are building our highway from Accra through to Winneba, through to Cape Coast, through to La Côte d'Ivoire, it is the Chinese that I see. Which calls into question, what type of engineering are we teaching? We are producing doctors, and they are good, some of them. But yet, when those of us who have the ability are sick, unless they do not know, they want to be airlifted to Dubai and to Germany. They have no faith in our medical system. When we are sick during COVID, all Africa is crying to America, oh, give us Moderna, give us Pfizer, to the Russians, give us Sputnik. We are crying. Yet we have universities with professors in medicine. You know, there is a missing link somewhere. Until the day we have the courage to find that missing link, then we are not preparing for the 21st century. Today, as I came here, courtesy of my hosts, I was driven in beautiful cars. Oh, none was made in Ghana. They are either made in Japan or in Germany. Africa does not produce cars. Ali Mazrui is right. We are in the business of consuming that which we do not produce and producing that which we do not consume. We must re-examine our education system. Even in matters as mundane as sports, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry. The United States of America offers our young men and women scholarships to study sports. Our universities don't. Football is a multi-billion-dollar industry. But yet, when one of the masters of ceremony was speaking in jest, it is not the anthem of Asante Kotoko that he remembered, but that of Liverpool, we shall not walk alone. So that as we are sitting here, even in the area of sports, which is a whole multi-billion-dollar industry, our young men and women are preoccupied with whether Arsenal beat Real Madrid or Barcelona beat Borussia Dortmund. They do not care whether Hafia Guinea du Conakry beat Asante Kotoko. The Osagiefo was right when he said, we may actually solve the economic problem. We may even solve the political problem. But I dare say that the mental problem which was impacted and makes us feel inferior will take a little longer to solve. This was not only said by the Osagie for himself in 1963. In 1933, Carter G. Woodson, that African-American educator writing in his book, Miseducation of the Negro, said that we have been so miseducated for so long. Our self-esteem has been undermined for so long. We have been made to use the back door for so long that even when we are told to use the front door, we look for the back door, and if we can't find it, we create our own back door. The level of our miseducation is amazing. We must change it in order to enter into the 21st century. You know, Brother Pippin, when you said that our passport, technological passports to the 21st century and visas to boot are expired, you are right. How can we play football on the games of rugby, on the rules of rugby? How? This is the question that we want to address today. We are talking about agriculture. And we are saying that we are now using technology to feed ourselves by manipulating the elements. The Chinese are seeding the rain so that it may rain. I have no problem with those of us who pray we must. But this misguided belief by Africans that when there is no rain, we pray and do nothing about it is completely misguided. The divine instruction was go ye and subdue the world. And subduing the world is by using our minds, by using the knowledge that we have. This is what the universities must ask. If you are a teacher, what kind of a teacher are you? Today, if I stood here and asked young Africans, and there is no shortage of them here, how many African authors do you know? And I asked, which is the last book of Chinua Achebe that you read? Or Kofi Awunur? Or Aikwe Yama? Or Kamara Lai? Or Flora Nwapa? Or Dambisa Moyo? Or more recently, Chimama and Ngozi Adichie? Or Yagyansi? How many have? We have been made to believe that it's only Shakespeare and Charles Dickens that matter. The time is now for us to change our minds. And we can only change our minds if we decolonize our minds. Ngugi Wa Thiong'o, that famous Kenyan writer, says, until the day that we decolonize our minds, we are going nowhere. And Ngugi reminds us that we may have decolonized our countries, but there is something called decoloniality, totally liberating ourselves from the mental chains of the colonizers. You know, the Osagiefo, to whom Africans owe an apology, wrote in his great book, Neocolonialism, the last stage of imperialism, and the most dangerous. We are in that stage. That stage when the colonizer still wants us to believe that our literature is inferior, that our science does not exist, that our mathematics does not exist, that we have no medicine to talk about, that we cannot mine beyond Galamsey, that we cannot extract our own oil, that we have no business being in robotics and cryptocurrency, that we must be consigned to the Museum of History alongside the spinning wheel, that we have no business being in the jet age. That is what we are being told. And my fear is that we appear to be believing it. We appear to be believing it because in our institutions of learning, when you look at our curriculum and you look at the curriculum of a number of countries in the Middle Ages, there is no difference. And I want to remind all of us that in the 1960s, when we were regaining our independence, and you read what was happening in different African countries, and I remind you to reread some of the thinkers of the time and the emphasis that they put on education. I was rereading for the umpteenth time the 32 speeches that were delivered by African leaders in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, between the 23rd and 25th days of May 1963. All of them, without exception, said one thing: if we are to give meaning to our independence, then education must be our focus. So said Ethiopia's Haile Selassie. If we want to change the continent of Africa, we must give meaning to education. So said Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere of Tanzania on that day. If we are going to change my little Senegal, we must give education priority. So said Leopold Sedar Senghor of Senegal. Even the complicit Félix Houphouët-Boigny in La Côte d'Ivoire believed so. But the ultimate was, of course, the one and only, the Osagyefo. He was as eloquent as he was passionate. And when he came home, where did he not visit? If he was not at Legon, opening the University of Ghana, he was in Kumasi, creating what is now the Kwame Nkrumah University. And if he was not at Kumasi, he was here creating an institute. He was everywhere. That is why when I heard my good friend talking about free basic education, he knew that ignorance is the enemy of progress. He knew that if there was a ghost that we had to exorcise, it was the ghost of ignorance. He knew that if there was a devil that we had to pray and fast against, it was ignorance. He knew that if there was anything we had to marshal our forces against in order to exorcise the ghost of tribalism in its primordial sense, it was ignorance. He knew. Yet, several years down the line, when you ask your typical academic, when they want to say that the University of Winneba, of education at Winneba is good, they say it is as good as Oxford. Why? Why can't it be just good? They must say that it's as good as Harvard, as MIT. Why must we always have this inadequacy to compare ourselves with others? We must change in order to enter the 21st century with confidence. Your leadership, who is a judge and belongs to our profession, which is one of the most imprisoned professions in Africa. When you see our judges dressing, they still dress like Father Christmas. Whoever told us that justice could only be administered when you dress like Father Christmas, I do not know. And when we are citing, even deciding a matter on land law in Ghana, in Cape Coast, we still want to cite some decision that was made by some English judge in the 13th century, as if we did not have our own land laws. The time has come that we must rethink and re-enter the 21st century with laws that are known to Ghana. Ask the Ga if they do not have laws that if we refine cannot lead us into the 21st century. Ask the Akan people if they do not have such laws. Ask the Fante people if they do not. Ask the Ewe if they do not. They do. We live in a world where we are so mentally captured that those of you in the middle class, your greatest claim to fame is that my daughter can no longer speak Chui and is meant to be a badge of honor. It is a badge of complete colonial conquest. And we cannot enter the 21st century with that mindset. Go to the countries in the Scandinavia, which we can dare compare ourselves with. Go to Denmark, they teach in Danish. Go to Norway, they teach in Norwegian. Go to Sweden, they teach in Swedish. Go to Finland, they teach in Finnish. Go to Korea, they teach in Korean. Go to China, they teach in Chinese. Go to Japan, they teach in Japanese. Then they meet the world. But you and me, here I am waxing eloquent in English. Not in Kiswahili. We must revamp our curriculum. And we must have the courage to do so as I speak to you now. They are teaching Yoruba and Twi at universities outside of this continent. Why? Because language is a multi-million-dollar, multi-billion city industry. It is only us who do not know. Those of you who are religiously inclined, we are the only visitors in Jerusalem. So, brothers and sisters, we are here to remind ourselves that there is urgent business to be undertaken. We are here to remind ourselves that we had a good past. We are here to remind ourselves that others came and through slavery they disrupted that past, that they did not stop there, that they came again under colonization, and this time they disrupted us so very thoroughly and took away even the most precious of things, our confidence. That when they came here and imposed an education system, that education system had only one agenda. The agenda was to create men and women, if they were the English who colonized you, who could speak English and be their clerks. If you are colonized by the French, that you could speak French or Portuguese or Italian or Germany. When we regained our independence, we only made cosmetic changes. The time is now to go deep and remove the cosmetics and go to the fundamentals. And I'm suggesting to you that that has been done. You know, those of you who are a little older will remember that 30 years ago, China was not famous for much. They were only famous for Chairman Mao for the Long March. Today, even the toothpicks in your hotels here in Winneba are from China. Today, you go to the shops, even the inauthentic Kentes are from China. They have franchised, indeed patented Kente. You go home, your television is Chinese or Korean. You are being persuaded to use your phones. I suspect you are either using Samsung or Huawei. What did China do 30 years ago? They made a decision that we are going to change our education system. And they changed their education system. They engaged in agriculture. They engaged in technology. They engaged in medicine. They engaged in everything. And today, China is the second strongest economy in the world, with a GDP of no less than 19 trillion United States dollars. Compare that with little Ghana. Compare that with little Sierra Leone. Compare that with little Kenya, with little all these countries. What they did was to change their minds in order to change their future. And that is why when we are building roads, whether it's in Nairobi, Kenya, or in Accra, Ghana, or in Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, or in Senegal, or in Ouagadougou in Burkina Faso, or Bamako in Mali, or Harare in Zimbabwe, or in Zambia, who do we find? Chinese. Because they changed their minds. The time is now for us to change our minds. The academics who are here must agree with me that we have sinned and fallen short of the expectations of our countries. And that the time is now to say that we should be forgiven. And if our generation committed those mortal sins, you up there must not repeat those mistakes. You must not repeat those mistakes. You must use the examples and the experience so that you do not step on the landmines that we stepped on. That is why Chinua Achebe said, where are the young suckers that will grow when the old banana dies? These are old bananas. You are the young suckers. So rise up. Africa is not expecting you to engage in a perpetual state of lamentation. No, lamentation will not help you. And I want to remind you that when you are here in Ghana, don't compete with Liberia. You will beat Liberia. Don't compete with Benin. Don't compete with Togo. Don't compete with La Côte d'Ivoire. Don't compete with all these little African dwarfs. Compete with giants. And when Ghana wakes up, this Ghana, you know, sometimes when I think about Ghana, I think about Kwame Nkrumah. And you think about his books, Dark Days in Ghana, Letters from Conakry. When the Osagyefo is so close yet so far, his ideas dead, his books banned until Ignatius Kutu Acheampong comes. It is only in the year 2013 that Nkosazana and Lamini Zuma, the then chair of African Commission, writes a letter of apology to Kwame Nkrumah. I urge you to read it. He tells Kwame, you are right. Everybody was wrong when you said We must unite and change our education system in order to compete. That is Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. Today, the Osagyefo is here telling us, let us change. He said it in 1963 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. He said it in 1964 in Cairo, Egypt. He said it in 1965 in Accra, Ghana. And on 6th day of March 1997, on the occasion of the celebration of 40 years of independence of Ghana, Kambarage Nyerere himself also apologized to Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah. He said, you are right, we were wrong. Today I'm saying that we cannot remain imprisoned in history and lamentation. That is why it is still true for you Ghanaians. Nkrumah is dead, but Nkrumah never dies. And the reason why he never dies is that his ideas are evergreen. Who among you here is courageous enough to stand up and contradict me when I say what we are saying here was said by Kwame Nkrumah in 1955? Who among you? Who among you here is courageous enough to tell me that Nkrumah did not think about education of a different kind when he was instituting the University at Legon? Who amongst you? That he was right when he established the Kwame Nkrumah University in Kumasi, that he was right when he instituted the institute out of which grew the University of Education at Winneba. Who amongst you can contradict me? So if he was right, he did not have the advantage of the technology that you have? No. There was no WhatsApp, there was no Twitter or X, there was no Instagram. There was only telegraph. But he was able to marshal the entire black community throughout the world and give meaning to education. What can you and me not do if we mean to do it? So you young men who are present here, don't tell me Nkrumah was old. Nkrumah was just slightly older than you. If you look at his cabinet, some of them were in their 20s. It is not formal education that maketh a man or a woman. The great Indian sage Raja Gopalachari says, education is not merely attending institutions and acquiring certificates. He says, you may have gone to school, but has school gone through you? This is the question. So, ladies and gentlemen, here today, we are here to tell ourselves ad nauseum that the mother continent can change, and she will change. She will change, and when I look at the future and I hold all factors constant, I see an Africa whose young men and women are educated and their education is about innovation and invention. I see such an Africa. I see an Africa whose sons and daughters will be leaders in cryptocurrency. I see that Africa. I see an Africa where all the cars running from Addis Ababa in Ethiopia to Banjul in the Gambia will either be made in Togo, Burkina Faso, or Uganda. I see that Africa. I see an Africa where the Ghanaian doctors who are running hospitals in the United States and in the United Kingdom will have the courage to come back home because there is something called a hospital where they can do their trade. I see such an Africa. I see an Africa where we will have our own satellites that are launched next to Elmina Castle, and they'll go out there in the orbit, and we shall not be depending on Vodafone. I see such an Africa. I see an Africa where we will be able to produce enough rice, enough cocoa, and enough gold, and we will process it here, and that you will be selling it to Nairobi, Kenya, Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, and it will not be necessary to look to the outside world. I see such an Africa. I see an Africa where, apart from Kiswahili, one of the languages that will be spoken will be Chui or Ebe or Ga. I see such an Africa. That Africa is possible. It is possible, Honorable Minister for Education, when at your next meeting you think outside of the box, or preferably without reference to the box. I see an Africa where we will give practical meaning to Africa Agenda 2063, not merely as a point of reference, but as a practical reality. I see an Africa where there is Africa Continental Free Trade Area, and the majority of students here at Winneba will be drawn from Togo, from Benin, from Gabon. I see an Africa where our kith and kin in Martinique, in Guadeloupe, and Barbados, Antigua, and Barbuda will be coming here. I see that happen. That is why, when I have such foresight, wisdom not only requires but dictates that I stop. Because going beyond that would be flogging a dead horse. I see an Africa that gives meaning to those words of the Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah, written in his book, Africa Must Unite, that Africa needs a new citizen. Are you those citizens that the Osagyefo was talking about? Are you? Do you have values? Do you have passion? Do you have dedication? Do you have love? Do you have imagination? Do you have the spirit of innovation? Do you have the spirit of invention? If that is true, then I have no fear for Africa. So go out there and amaze Africa. God bless you.
Sciences, and he is the chairman of the Farafina Investment Group in Monrovia, Liberia, an economic strategic growth and development initiative for Africa based in Nigeria. He is the immediate former director and chief executive officer of the Kenya School of Law, Kenya Review Commission, and a former director of the defunct Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission, and is currently working on a number of projects. He is a renowned legal practitioner, and he has written several books, including The Criminal Procedure in Kenya, An Outline of Judicial Review in Kenya, Kenya's Long Search for a Constitution, and many others. The Postponed Promise and Judicial Review and Administrative Law. And he has published numerous articles in refereed journals and several book chapters. He has also edited several books, including The Devolution in Kenya, The Constitution of Kenya, and many others. He has co-authored other books. And remember that in 2004, the speaker received commendation from the Kenya Scout Association for service to the society. In 2011, Bishop Okulu College of Theology of Great Lakes University of Kisumu awarded him the Order of St. Paul's the Apostle for restoration of good governance and right value to all. The East African Association of Anti-Corruption Authorities recognized him for valuable and exemplary contribution in the fight against corruption. He has been named and recognized by the International Commission of Jurists, the Kenyan section, and the Law Society of Kenya for his exemplary contribution to the legal profession. He was recognized by the Kenya-USA Association for the Martin Luther King Jr. Leadership Award in 1996 and was the recipient of the 2008 Martin Luther King Africa Salute to Greatness Award by the Martin Luther King Jr. Africa Foundation. He has also been included in the Marcus Who is Who in the World and is the distinguished Mwalimu Julius Nyerere Lecturer at the University. He has been recognized and has received the following awards and of course recognition. African Luminary Award by African Cultural Association in the United States of America. Freedom of the City of Lowell in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in the United States of America for his role in the fight against corruption and bad governance in Africa. Recognition by the House of Representatives of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in the United States of America for exemplary work in the fight against corruption and bad governance in Africa. And currently, he practices law with Lumumba and Lumumba advocates and coordinates activities under the PLO Lumumba Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor PLO Lumumba.
Thank you very much. Sometimes introductions can be so elaborate that you wonder whether you are the person that is being referred to. You don't stop the person who is introducing you. Permit me at the very outset to thank the Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast, who is also the chair of this session. I also wish to thank the Pro-Chancellor, the cabinet ministers here present, drawn from several African countries, vice chancellors from different universities across the continent of Africa, the academics here present, our friends of goodwill drawn from different civilizations across the world, the students of the University of Cape Coast, and others who are attending this conversation this morning. I've been asked to share my thoughts with you on a subject that remains evergreen in this continent. Throughout the world today, Africans are engaged in a conversation on what it is that we must do in this continent to make her realize her potential. Africans who are residents in the United States of America are asking the question, what is it that we must do to make Mother Africa great again? It is not lost on me that only last week here in Ghana, the president of Ghana received African Americans who were engaged in homecoming. They were here to rededicate themselves to the struggle to make Africa great again. And it is not only Africans in America who are asking the question. If you meet Africans in Europe, they are asking, what can we do to make Africa great? If you meet Africans in Asia and in Latin America, they are asking the same question. And Africans in the continent, whether you are talking about Africans in the west of Africa, in the south of Africa, in Central Africa, in North Africa, in East Africa, the single question that is being posed and waiting for an answer is what will we do to make Africa a great continent again? The reason why that question remains alive and well is because history tells us that there was a time when this continent was great. Indeed, those who want to romanticize history will tell you that when the Europeans were in the cold and living in caves in Europe, Africa was great. There were empires alive and thriving in Ghana. There were empires alive and well, thriving in Mali. There were organized societies in Zimbabwe and in Eastern Africa. They will tell you that is our ancestors who built the pyramids in Egypt. One can only romanticize so far. They will also remind you that there was indeed a time when Africa was victimized through slavery, and that Africa went through that space for 400 years. They will also painfully remind you that Africa was the subject, and historians will take you to Berlin in 1884 and 85 and remind you that the European powers in their selfish mode subdivided this continent arbitrarily into the countries that now constitute the continent. I will tell you sadly that the European powers, whether they were the Germans, they had a slice of their own of our continent. If they were the French, they had a slice of their own of our continent. Even poor Portugal at that time had a slice of our own of the continent. Even poor Belgium had a slice of our own of our continent. And even the arrogant British had a slice of our own of our continent. So that when we started struggling to regain our independence, we had been arbitrarily parceled out. Even at the beginning of this conference, one of the announcements that was being made is that there were Africans who are referred to as Francophone. In other words, there are those amongst us who, in describing them, we describe them by the language of the colonizer. Africa is the only continent that we still refer to as Francophone, Lusophone, Anglophone, and sometimes even Arabophone. It is not lost on me that even I am speaking in a language that is alien to us. I would have preferred to speak in Kiswahili, but that is the state of our continent. Very soon, we will call ourselves Chinaphone. So that when I am asked to talk about making Africa work for Africa, what can we do? We can only engage in that conversation in the context of history. What is it, we must ask, that has made Africa so attractive throughout the ages? There was a time when Europe was going through their first industrial revolution, when they were migrating from agriculture, and even before then they needed Africans themselves. So that in this Cape Coast, there is a monument to the atrocities occasioned by the Caucasians against us. Throughout this coast, you go to Elmina here, not far from here. You go to Liberia, to Sierra Leone, to Senegal, to the Gambia. You will find monuments to the atrocities committed against the Africans. Historians don't say it as loudly as they should. 1/2 of the population of Africa was taken out of this continent. If they did not find themselves in the sugar plantations in the Caribbean, they were working in the mines in Europe or building the underground railways in the United Kingdom or working in the cotton plantations in the United States of America. Africans built the world as beasts of burden. That is the Africa that we must talk about. And we cannot ignore that history. We don't talk about it as loudly as we should. The Jews were massacred in 1945. Only 6 million of them. But they have made sure that the world is always guilty about those atrocities. King Leopold of the Belgians killed 15 million Congolese. But we never talk about it. So when we talk about Africa and how we can make Africa work for Africa, we must remember the trauma that we must be suffering. Africa has never been left to rest. After the Erevery, they came up with yet another project, the colonial project. And we struggled against the colonial project. Ethiopia was not colonized. The Italians tried until 1938, they failed. But Ethiopia was only one. Liberia regained our independence in 1847 when some of our brothers and sisters who had been taken to the United States were brought back. But the rest of Africa was subjugated. Portugal took our share in Mozambique, in Angola, in Sao Tome and Principe, in Guinea-Bissau, and in Cape Verde. And I can remember so very distinctly that until 1975, when I was a young high school student, Agostino Neto was fighting to liberate Angola. So was Jonas Malheiro Savimbi in 1975. I can remember so very distinctly as a young student in my lifetime, Samora Machel and Eduardo Mondlane struggling to free Mozambique. I can remember so very distinctly Amilcar Cabral struggling to liberate Guinea-Bissau. So it is not long ago. It is yesterday in historical terms. They were kicked out by force of arms, the Portuguese. Did they leave? No, they did not leave. They engaged in political and economic shape-shifting, so that if you go to Mozambique, you go to Angola, and you go to Guinea-Bissau, the Portuguese influence is still there in a surreptitious and in a subterranean manner and in a pernicious manner. And if you doubt me, you only have to listen occasionally to their accredited ambassadors. In their unguarded moment, they still think that those countries are their fiefdoms, to be guided occasionally if they are out of line. But the most pernicious of the colonizers was France, pernicious to the core. I remember, courtesy of history, when in 1958, the Gaullist administration in France, having surrendered to the reality that Africans had to regain their independence, asking the colonies to vote yes or no. It is only Modibo Keita of Mali and Ahmed Sékou Touré of Guinea, and to a certain extent Ahmed Ben Bella of Algeria, who said we will be free in poverty. And you remember what they did when they were leaving the French. They destroyed everything, leaving Guinea to die. They had written the obituary of Guinea. They had written the obituary of Mali. They had written the obituary of Algeria. And they ensured that their former colonies entered into a pact which is alive today, that their currency will be printed from France, and that their banks will be controlled from France. In the mind of the French, whether you are talking of Nicolas Sarkozy, whether you are talking of Macron, in their unguarded moment, they still think that former French colonies are merely their backyards. That is the Africa that you are asking me to talk about, how she can work. And when they were done with us, you know what they created? They created an organized colonies, headquartered appropriately in Paris, France. Seen it all with the French, then they were the gentle and sometimes arrogant British. Why arrogant? The empire over which they sat. They colonized Nigeria, they colonized Ghana. It was a great son of this land, the Osagyefo, Kwame Nkrumah, who on the eve of independence and on the day of independence reminded Africans on the 6th day of March 1957 that the independence of Ghana meant nothing if the rest of Africa was not free. Independence from the United Kingdom, they gave us constitution, they called them the Westminster Model Constitution. Remember, we are in Africa, but our constitutions, whether in Ghana or in Nigeria or in Uganda or in Malawi or in Zambia or Kenya or Tanzania, are referred to as Westminster Model Constitution. British bureaucrats sitting at the Whitehall in London and giving us constitution. Go ye Africans and try it out. Africa became a laboratory for the ideas of European bureaucrats. That is the Africa that you are asking me, how does it work? An Africa for which once we had regained our independence, they created for us, and that commonwealth is a commonwealth of independent and equal states, they tell us. But the queen is the head until the second coming of Christ.